for the show to start.
Hey, before we start, did you get that link I sent you?
Link? Let me check. Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to Macabre'Gorium Labs presents a showcase of things likely
Just watch
forgotten
it.
after dark. My name is Bats, and I'll be your guide today as we take a look at today's topic with the iconic MTV's Liquid Television.
What? Oh! Can you believe that guy? What a idiot. He falls for this shit every time. Anyway, what's up everybody and welcome to Macabre'Gorium Labs presents a showcase of things likely forgotten after dark. I'm Bats and I'll be your host today as we talk about MTV's Liquid Television. The 90s were weird. This isn't one of the darker topics I wanted to cover, but we figured it was best to ease you guys into us changing direction a little bit. So here we go. To avoid confusion, it is important to note that MTV's Liquid Television is not MTV's Oddities. Oddities itself was a programming block not unlike SNCC, as where Liquid Television was an animation anthology series. But we'll be covering the Oddities as well very soon. At the beginning of the 1990s, we were all looking for something new and original. And let me tell you, the 1990s would not disappoint. Oh boy, would we be rewarded, because in 1991, MTV would see that it needed to evolve and adapt to the changing cultural tone of the decade. With this in mind, it would begin introducing original animation, sketch comedy, and culture lifestyle programming into its lineup. It's also important to note that this predates the 16 and pregnant, road rules, all of that. This still kind of had that MTV feel. However, today we're only going to be focusing on one of the most original, creative, inventive, and thought-provoking collections of talent our young eyes had ever seen. It was so rad, you just had to be there. Liquid Television was originally created by Simeon Japhet Astor, who is an English producer, writer, and director. He was also a partner in Colossal Pictures, which would produce Liquid Television with MTV networks, Big Pictures, Noise and Leyburn Enterprises, and the BBC. It was an experimental animation anthology with extra steps. Premiering on MTV on June 2nd, 1991, Liquid Television would run through January 1st, 1995. During that time, there would be 4 seasons with a grand total of 27 episodes, each with a runtime of approximately 30 minutes. Although there is no exact count, as the episodes of segments per episode would vary, there would be over 120 segments in total throughout the show. Being that this was MTV, they had direct access to a lot of performers and awesome talent, which helped them be able to secure none other than Mark Mothersbaugh to compose the music for Liquid Television. That's right, none other than co-founder and lead vocalist of the iconic band, Devo. See, I told you this show was rad. The name Liquid Television itself would be inspired by a concept by surreal artist Salvador Dali. While the liquid and gaseous television concept itself is quite complex, it very basically involves pouring TV images into a bottle and creating liquid from a bottle that you can smear on your hands, noses, and clothes. By replacing the narcotic trance of television screens, it would allow the person to look inward and see what their mind creates when the subconscious is stimulated. Being a surreal artist, Dali was very into exploring the creative potential of lucid dreaming, connecting with the universe, and accessing the unconscious mind. This was perfect, as the idea behind Liquid Television would feature independent animators and artists who make original segments just for the show. Kind of like how we may not be a show for everybody, and we may not create things everybody wants to see, and some of you may not like us, but we don't use AI. We let our minds wander. As Japhet says on his website, polarityreversal.com, he says that they wanted to build an environment in which they could try telling different kinds of stories using techniques rarely seen on mainstream TV and see what kinds of characters and stories emerged. With the concept fully developed, Japhet needed to create a pitch to go with his new idea. So his idea was to, quote, put your favorite TV shows in a blender and hit puree. That's quite frankly one of the best ways to get the best out of a show like this. Using that as a jumping off point, each episode would start with either a music video or a piece of normal television. It would play for a few seconds, then would melt into a swirl and into a liquid that would be inside of the iconic liquid television bottle. I'm sure you can see what they did there. Each episode would be very chaotic, with an unpredictable, rapid-fire batch of shorts. With this format, it was common to see the very different styles of segments mixed together. Since liquid television was all about creation, it rejected polished animation for a rougher, raw look. There would be traditional hand-drawn sketches, early 3D computer CGI, puppets, stop-motion animation, and live-action elements layered with graphic effects. Since it was the 1990s, there was plenty of inspiration to draw from for the artists to use. Rising in popularity at the time were underground skate videos, comic books, and music, evolving with grunge and alternative rock. Macabre'Gorium Labs will return after this commercial break. Are you a little weird? Are you a little dark? Do you have offbeat and original ideas? Well, come on down to MTV and check out Liquid Television, the only show that will show you things you've never seen before, things you'll never see again, things that will open your mind and tickle your creativity. So pour out some liquid and lose yourself in the surreal. Side effects of using liquid television may result in abnormal imagination activity, paranormal suspicions. Certain dairy and produce items may entice you to buy a racing horse. Users of liquid television may find themselves wondering if they are an action figure being played out in someone else's reality. Macabre'Gorium Labs can neither confirm nor deny these statements. Other than being avid users of liquid television, Macabre'Gorium Labs is in no way affiliated with liquid television or MTV. Use at your own risk, as reality may be bent and unable to be bent back to where it once came from. And now back to Macabre'Gorium Labs. Now that we've looked into the history of this show, what did we actually see? Due to the way each episode was made, it came with no specific lineup, so we're going to discuss some of the recurring series that featured instead of each episode individually. Many of the recurring series and some of the singular shorts would actually go on to be developed into their own shows, franchises, and even full-length movies.
Just a quick note, we will be covering some of these shorts and series in future videos, so do stay tuned for that.
Aeon Flux, created by Chung. Aeon Flux would appear in the very first episode of Liquid Television. The art style used is a combination of expressionism, cyberpunk, and Gnosticism. This show begins with the iconic opening that shows a fly crawling across Aeon's eye, and it gets caught in her eyelashes as the iris comes around to stare directly at it. The shorts had no dialogue and relied heavily on visual imagery. Aeon herself is a self-motivated, bad spy that is in an obsessive relationship with her arch nemesis and bad guy Trevor Goodchild, all the while trying to take down the establishment. This show would go on to get its own movie and series. Beavis and Butthead, which honestly requires no introduction, was created by Mike Judge. Beavis and Butthead uses a hand-drawn art style with a rough sketch-like quality with rough line work to look like a teenager's notebook doodles. The boys would make their appearance on Liquid Television on September 24th, 1992 with the iconic short, Frog Baseball. We are all familiar with this teenage duo, this short, and their antics, but it would be this memorable beginning that brought their band of social dysfunction to us all. It was a total hit, and recognizing this, MTV smartly decided to pay for a full series to be developed that would premiere in 1993. Joe's Apartment, created by John Payson. This would be a live-action short and used a combination of stop-motion, collage, and puppetry to bring the cockroaches to life. As we know, Joe has a dirty apartment infested with roaches that talk to him. Although they try to help Joe with his date, it goes horribly wrong as they dump out all over the girl who runs away. This short didn't have any other episodes. However, it was played on MTV itself as an interstitial. This short was iconic as MTV would decide to develop the concept into a full-length movie in 1996. You know the one, Joe's Apartment? Gross, by the way. Not only is this movie credited with pioneering CGI imagery, but it was also the only MTV Films production made without Paramount Pictures involvement. Winter Steel, created by Cintra Wilson. Wilson would write the stories and voice Winter Steel while also building the puppets herself. The show was done with a stop-motion style mixed with some live action. Winter would first ride into our hearts in the second episode of Liquid Television on June 2nd, 1991. The character herself is a motorcycle-riding, hardened of an orphan that has to deal with a dystopian world. Made fun of relentlessly at the orphanage when she was young, she developed a hatred of people. Although during her time at the orphanage, she met her soulmate, Crow Dickerson. Another bad mother. After being separated from him, she spends the series hunting for him, while at the same time he's searching for her too. This don't around. The Art School Girls of Doom. Created by drag queens Cody Leone and Gina Varla Vetro, this short used a blend of live action and animation. This show would be about the two titular, ultra-cool, fashion-obsessed art school friends as they navigate a number of nightmare situations. You know, like going to the beach. Only on Liquid Television. All I can tell you about these two is they come and go as they please, they answer to no one, and they are truly free.
All right, Bats, calm down.
Okay. Soap opera, created by Ann Bernstein using bars of actual soap and stop-motion animation. A spoof on real soap operas, this featured the drama of daily life of, soap. It has all the comedic charm and cheesiness any soap fan would love. Someone tell Dr. Squatch to get the rights to this. I would watch a Dr. Squatch soap opera. Stick Figure Theater, created by Joey Album with some segments written by Melissa Sammons. This one used hand-drawn cell animation and early computer software to bring our stick friends to life. The segments would feature vintage movie trailers, interviews, and radio broadcasts, all recreated with stick figures. I know I'm presenting this one on YouTube, but the 90s did try to warn us. Just saying. Next up is Dog Boy. Dog Boy, created by Charles Burns and adapted from the comic series in Raw magazine. This short would have live action with vintage props, surreal sets, and plastic helmets. Now this one was a little crazy, but funny. It all begins when Tony Halton gets his heart transplanted by a nefarious doctor with a dog heart. The shorts follow him as he has to navigate the world of crazy doctors, experiments, and motorcycle gangs. Invisible Hands, created by Richard Sala. Like the previous entry, Invisible Hands was adapted from a mystery thriller comic called Night Drive. To bring this to life, a stop-motion cutout animation technique along with physical drawings on layered glass would be used. The segment would involve a sleuth who solved cases involving stereotypical femme fatale revenge, ancient cults, taxidermy, and masquerade balls. The Specialists, created by John Horn. This short would use a heavily stylized animation and the background artistry of Disney veteran Walt Paraguay. We would follow three detectives, Mastermind, Kidda, and Samson, who would travel between dimensions and deal with weird pop culture enemies. Speed Bump, the Roadkill Possum, created by Frank Gresham. This segment would again use 2D hand-drawn animation techniques. This quirky show featured a possum that is constantly being squashed during various roadkill accidents. However, he always seems to recover by the next scene. Push Comes to Shove, created by Bill Plimpton. To create this short, it would be entirely drawn and colored by hand using colored pencils and traditional cells. You know, the hard way. On a side note, I am a huge fan of Bill Plimpton's work. The segment featured two professional-looking men that would take turns hurting each other using various methods of punishment. All outlandish and all awesome. This often involves them merging into and absorbing one another. Along with the reoccurring segments, there were a number of these shorts that would appear only once or twice during the entire series. There was The Running Man, The Killing of an Egg, Lee Press on Limbs, The Thing What Lurked in the Tub, The Adventures of Thomas and Nardo, The Hitchhiker, Bobby and Billy, Night Watchman, Sweat, Disco Destroyer, and The Magic Hole, just to name only a very few. In addition to all of the animation, creativity, and it being MTV, there was a ton of licensed music used, which unfortunately is why full episodes of the original Liquid Television have not been broadcast since its original run. I'm pretty sure anybody that streams, plays video games, or makes videos like this understand exactly what they're talking about here. Not all is lost though, as you can find the episodes right here on YouTube, or at least several videos that contain most of the various segments. Apparently at one point there were 2 VHS tapes that were made in the late 1990s called The Best of Liquid Television. You can find these on eBay for around $35 to $85 a piece, but there are not a lot of them available. In 1997, there would be a collection DVD released called Wet Shorts, the best of Liquid Television, and they would feature the segments that were on both VHS tapes. However, this one is a little more pricey, and it's going to run you between $100 to $200 per copy. As far as general merchandise for this one goes, there isn't really a whole lot to choose from, aside from branded hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pins, and the like. There really was no board games, video games, or other iterations of this property. Although there have been some attempts to reboot Liquid Television, it has been impossible to match the weird, zany, chaotic, edgy, original spirit of the 1990s era. We were all ready to push the boundaries of the normal and expand our minds and creative abilities to their full potential. Here in 2026, there are many fans of Liquid Television, and new fans still being added all the time. Over the last 29 years, Liquid Television has inspired many artists to think outside the box and create amazing works that may not have been possible otherwise. And that's something we really appreciate here at Macabre'Gorium Labs, because we always like trying new things, experimenting, and see what works and what doesn't. Anyway, I was a huge fan of this when it was on, and I fondly remember this one and Oddities. So before you hit me up in the comment section that I left out the Max or the Head or the Brothers Grunt, they weren't actually part of Liquid Television, but they will be covered later on down the line, especially the Max. I have a real fond spot for this show because it helped inspire me creatively to become an artist when I was a teenager. But anyway, now you know what I think, I've just got to ask. Did you ever watch the original Liquid Television? Have you ever seen any of its content here on YouTube if you weren't around for that era? If so, what was your favorite segment? And if not, what was your favorite childhood snack, toy, show, movie, or other memory? Did we forget anything, get something wrong, or leave something out? Do you have a suggestion for a future video that you want us to cover, or maybe you just want to drop in and say what's up? Either way, feel free to head on down to the comment section because, and I mean this, most of the time, we look forward to hearing from you. And with that, unfortunately, we've come to the end of another Macabre'Gorium Labs showcase of things likely forgotten after dark. I've been your host, Bats, and I hope you had a very interesting time today as we talked about MTV's Liquid Television. The 90s were weird. Be sure to check back next time because you never know what we have in store. As usual, think for yourselves, be excellent to each other, and of course,
Let me out!
keep it creepy.
This is my show! You miscreant, let me out of here!
Shut up in there. I'm not letting you out.
Let me out!
This is my show now, sucker.
One day I'm gonna get you back, you mean goober.